So we're back on the buggy, and I got a new bandsaw as well. My other one broke this whole bearing assembly. It snapped the lower one, and it was out of warranty. I had that thing for like 3 years, but just thought I'd note that. But anywho, we got to cut this flange out for the supercharger. So basically I already have a steel intake manifold flange. Once I cut this out, drill all the holes out, then I can bolt both of them into place with gaskets, and then be able to weld in some rod stock to hold them, you know, separated apart, and then pull it off and build it on the workbench so we can start the Supercharged 670. So I've been using Amazon's flap discs. They're like 10 for $13. And I finally read about on Instagram, actually, his ad, Benchmark, Abrasive, and Chris Schmidt told me about these. But he was like, man, you need to buy these. They're more expensive, but they last longer. And I'm like, And so, like, look how many I normally keep in stock. So that's my Amazon. And if you'll hand me one off the wall, I will show you the thickness difference on these things and the quality difference. As you can see, they're just super thick. Oh, she's all thick. And if you compare them to a Amazon one, I mean, they're quite a bit thicker. It's almost double the thickness. But not only are they thicker, the bond that the sand has on the flaps is way better. So these last, like, I pretty much sanded this much on this flange. The other side isn't touched. So I got like 2/3 of the way around, and it wore out that flap disc. And it was a little wore to start with, but I mean, there's no comparison. So you can check out our links in the video description on these. They'll be in every video now. I'm telling you guys, you can buy a 10-pack. I don't know when the deal goes off, but they're doing 10 of them for free as long as you pay shipping. I think it's like 10 for 10 or something is what shipping is on them. So you can get a variety pack of like 60, 80, and 120 grit for 10 bucks. It's definitely worth a try. You will fall in love and buy them from now on. So for the last few days, we tried tuning on this engine, and I knew this would be a hard engine to tune because we've never run a supercharger. All of our engines have been naturally aspirated. So here's a video clip of the first time we started it, and you'll see how rich it was running.
Going.
We've been playing with it the last couple days, and basically this is, I would imagine, like a 2-quart gas can. Go Power Sport sells these for mini bikes and stuff, and we like them because they're really good test tanks. Well, I will put half a tank in there, so probably a quart of gas, and while I'm trying to tune this thing, it'll drink it in under a minute. So, and it's just blowing black smoke out the carb. So this is what we came, me and Performance 670 has been talking a lot. This is what we think is happening, is this Mikuni is not going to work. Basically, at idle, it's pulling gas from the main jet. Now, for those that don't know how Mikuni works, your pilot jet, which is on screen in this particular carb, this is a 34 millimeter round slide from Go Power Sports. This is a true Mikuni. It's not a knockoff. So the pilot jet's on screen. Your pilot jet does 0 to a quarter throttle, and then from quarter to 3/4 throttle, your needle on your slide actually controls the fuel. And then from 3/4 to full throttle, your main jet comes in. So at idle, your main jet, it don't matter if you have, you know, a 350, which is stupid big for this carb. A 350 main jet, it's not going to affect anything. It should still idle as long as you got your pilot jet right. And these come with a 35 pilot jet, which should be around about what we're going to need. Which this is all new because we don't know what the Supercharger is going to like. And by the way, I'm pretty sure we was the world's first to TIG weld a V-band clamp onto a Mikuni, because I can't find any information where anyone's ever done it. So that's pretty sick. But unfortunately, this carb is not going to work on here because at idle, it's drawing fuel out of that that main jet. So no matter what I do, it's still going to run rich like that. Once you rev it up, the thing revs up great and stuff, but basically it's never going to idle. So I've taken this, you can see on the screen that I've soldered up a main jet. So this is basically going to not let any fuel come out of the main jet, so that can basically allow us to see if we can get it to idle and see if what we think is happening is happening. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we're first going to start it with so it's got a 250 main jet and a 12.5 pilot, which is way too small. We're going to start it and show you what it's doing, then we'll swap that out, put a 35 main pilot jet back on it, and this sealed main jet, and we'll see what happens. Now we have the fan running because it's so rich, it's ridiculous. Like, it burns your eyes rich. So we got both garage doors open, we got the vent going on, so let's see if it'll start. Super rich, like super rich, and it shouldn't be like that. So now we can pull this carburetor off. Whew, it's bad.
Smells like straight gas.
So let's take a commercial break and let the fumes go out of here before we get cancer. Guys, I'm gonna take a real quick break to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is, you already know it, GoPowersports.com. They've been helping us out for over 4 years now on the channel, and they're one of our best sponsors on the channel, you know, the one that's been there since we started, and we love when you guys support them, and that helps support our channel and it helps us continue to do these videos. Linked in the video description is some of our favorite parts, which is the 24mm Mikuni. We love their quick releases, their steering wheels. We also are big fans of their juggernauts. They are sold out right now, but they got more on the way. And that Tilson 225 engine, if you want an out-of-the-box engine, don't want to go through the hassles of building one, that engine is no joke. You can see it won our mini bike race. It's got big valves, a big flowing head. It's just a great out-of-the-box engine, and saves you time and the hassle of building one. So check those links out. Support the channel and support Go Power Sports, so the content will keep on flowing, baby. We love you guys, and let's get back to the video. Becca went down to Miss Redbeard. Went down to dollar store and bought me this barbecue can, and it has been super handy because a lot of times I don't have a spot to set this fuel can up to start vehicles. So now I can basically squirt directly down into the fuel inlet of the carb and just fill the bowl to see if something's going to run. You know, so it's pretty handy. I mean, this, and you put it in your fridge and you got cold gasoline anytime you need it.
This brings us back to the Dollar General should sponsor you.
Yeah. They should, but they won't. Okay. Alright. So we can go ahead and take the slide out. And the good thing about this is this carb is not what we're going to be going with. I think what we're going to do is do a Harley Davidson S&S carb, which is, I think, for an old, what they call them, shovel head engine, which is an old school Harley, because they have a butterfly and it's not going to cause the problems that we're having. And we was scared that, you know, at 4,000 RPMs under load, that this slide could stick because of the vacuum the supercharger is creating. It wouldn't be able to slide the slide back down. That's another scary thing with Mikunis. But the good thing about this is we can still run this on any go-kart. We just basically TIG weld another, you know, the other side of the V-band to it, and we have a universal carb to slap on stuff. I think that's going to be pretty sweet. So we have our soldered up main jet. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. And we also have our 35 pilot jet. Like I said, we're running a 12.5 in here, which that's the size you would run in a 212 Predator. So we knew that there was an issue coming from the main jet, which is fine. We're all learning here. Performance 670's actually been working on a Kohler that someone's put a B&M Supercharger, I think it is, and it came in and it actually made like stock power with this Supercharger on it because of how everything was hooked up, and they've been trying to get it going, but it's a different setup than what we were running. I found that after a lot of research and talking with people, that the setup I'm going with the Harley carb, which I had planned to do a butterfly style carb, but I wanted to try this out because I had the V-band, and again, we can use this carb on other builds. So with 34 millimeters, you have to turn the carb right side up to pull the float bowl off, because the floats actually stay in the bolt. If you can see, you can slide these out. So where a standard carb, the float would be attached to this piece of brass. And to also check your float level, hold the carb up and make sure this piece of brass, this float arm here, is level with it, you know, is parallel with this. So if it's not, you can bend that tab, and these are spring loaded. I don't know if you can see in there where it's pushing, but as long as it sets right there, that's where fuel shut off, and this is shut off as well. But so you can bend that little tab there and get that flat with that to set that. So our main jet's there, and it is a 250, which we're gonna pull that out in just a second. Here's our pilot jet, because I know this isn't never gonna work with that pilot jet. Set that aside, go ahead and swap that out. And then if you was running fuel pressure, which we're going to once this buggy's up and going, then you would just unscrew this whole needle and seat out. You got to pull the float arm off. Then you can use a wrench, pull that out, and buy a new, that's a 3.3 millimeter, and buy 1.5 millimeter needle and seat to be able to stop the fuel pressure. Little 6 millimeter wrench works. Wrench dressing works on the main jet. Looks like we're all good. So now this will not be able to suck any fuel from the main jet. Another cool thing about Mikuni is you can just take this nut off if you're just changing out the main jet and not have to pull the bowl and worry about the floats. Pretty handy, but you do have to pull the bowl to do the pilot jet. Fun fact. And then we're going to go ahead, set this. This is our idle air mixture. So that's tight. That's half, one and a half. That's where we're going to start with. All this is going to do is help us eliminate our know that this Mikuni is not going to work. Like this is, of course, we don't have a main jet. So if we can get this thing to idle without black smoking, that's what our goal is. And then we see, which we already pretty much know that's the problem. And then we can order our S&S carb and make a adapter for it. Alright, so moment of truth. It's running right now. So now I had to get it to even idle, I had to screw the idle screw in, which all that does is crack your slide open a little bit. I had to tighten it up all the way, so that means it's as far as it can go in, which is cracking the carb up quite a bit. So now we should let that out and it should idle. We just had it idled extremely high. It's still rich, for sure.
We need another commercial break.
Yeah, commercial break. I'm gonna plug the fan up. Take a toke on that exhaust. Well, that test showed us exactly what we was wanting to see. So basically, it's still rich, but before what it was doing, and the reason it's probably rich is because that pilot is probably a little bit too big. It's a 35. We probably need a 25 or a 30 in it. But before it wouldn't even idle. We had to crack that idle screw, which again raises the slide up. We had to crack that as tight as it would go just to even try to get it to idle, and it really would still stumble and fall on its face. So now we know that this Mikuni's not going to work because of how a Mikuni lets fuel in and everything. A butterfly carb is completely different. So that's the reason we're going with the butterfly style carb. But that did show us what we was wanting to see. Even though it's still rich, it still idles now. It revs with a lot better throttle response, and you can actually hear the blower whine a little bit. And that's pretty sick because I can't wait to get this thing done. So let us know what you think about this build in the comment section below. We are stopping on customer builds for a while so we can finish this and get on to other buggies we've been planning on building. We've been stockpiling parts, and we got some awesome builds coming, and we've just been doing so many customer projects we didn't have time to get back to this. So now this is our main focus over the next couple weeks so we can get to driving this thing. We're waiting on the carb to come in. Huge shout out to Performance 670 for sponsoring the parts on the engine. So basically we got billet 20 over pistons. We got the heads are milled 50 thousandths imported. We have the billet rods, billet flywheel. They did us a custom grounded cam for this supercharger. And of course the blower I got off of eBay. It's an AMR 300. You can also do a 500, but I feel like that's too big for this engine. So we got everything dialed in. I believe once we get that carb, we'll be driving this thing. Also, huge shout out to Go Power Sports. We did a lot of parts. They're quick release, their steering wheel. These 34 millimeters is one of our favorite carbs. They're a true Mikuni, and they're great on big blocks or V-twins. So check out the links in the video description for everything on this buggy. And thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you supporting these builds by watching the videos. We know this one's taking a little bit long time, but again, we've really started doing a lot of customer builds over the last year, and that has slowed down stuff dramatically. So we're taking a break on them for a while. We got to finish Randy's Yerf Dog, which is back from powder coat. We got to assemble it, and then we're off to finishing this and building some badder buggies. So thank you so much for watching. We love you guys, and God bless.